After 25 years of dealing with ADHD myself and struggling in school and at work, and especially when I was running my first own company with 21 years, these are my learning and takeaways all in one video. Hey, I'm Jeff, I'm an entrepreneur and a content creator, and I also have ADHD. And in the past, I wrote a startup which made over 300K a year, and I had in total roughly around 10 employees. And after I left the company to pursue my real goals and business dreams, I decided to start this YouTube channel to provide value and learnings and experiences to hopefully inspire and help others like you. And one of my first learnings is the better our habits, routines, and systems, the better we can manage our ADHD. So the more autonomous our life is, so means outside of work or removing triggers where we don't really focus on something. Is it like cooking? Is it cleaning? And the better we focus on systems, the better we can create focus when working. So a simple thing is the less we do actually, the more focus we can bring while doing work. For example, if you have in your head, I need to do laundry, I have to do cleaning, I need to do all of the things, we cannot focus when we need to focus. Because when we have ADHD, we are too interested in too many things at once. So it doesn't really mean that we have a bad focus when we have a focus, because we can have a hyper focus actually. But it is hard to streamline all of our interests into one specific task right now. And one simple thing which I learned actually just 1.5 years ago, or maybe 2, is that when we use coffee, it also suppresses our emotions, which means actually that we are more able to focus because we don't get distracted of our own emotions. And I also read a study about that, which actually contradicts, I hope it's the right word, contradicts, that it's correct. And also the more we understand dopamine, the more we are able to achieve the focus. Because some people think they have ADHD because they can't focus on a task, but it's actually just they don't understand their dopamine. And means when they don't understand their dopamine, like they're getting distracted with their phone, and that can count to any person in the world, not only to people with ADHD. And one of the most key things I learned for my productivity actually is the better I stick to my routines, the better I can focus. And also the more I stick to the routine, also during the evening, the better I can flow in the morning while I'm working, where are coming up later in this video. There's 2 other things which I want to mention right now is, before getting to the next topic, is when we train more, we can focus better. And it's mostly the next day. So for example, I'm an endurance athlete, but also I'm into strength training. So I try to do both because I also have a benefit for longevity and health in general. And most people who just train in a gym increase their muscles. It does not really increase the cardiovascular exercise and also their brain, because the more endurance we do, the better we also train our brains. So always opt for like 3 to 4 cardiovascular trainings, or maybe 2 or 3 strength trainings per week. And one of the last things I want to mention about routines, habits, and systems is when we have a reward system, means when we, for example, fasting, what I do every day is like minimum 16 hours, but it mostly actually contributes more to 18 hours. We feel more motivated while working because we know, hey, if I do this 6 hours of work right now, I get food later on, or training, or I get a recovery. So we can put more effort and energy and focus into the work we're doing right now. And when I was just mentioned flow, that is the key metric number 2, because flow increases our productivity by 500% based on research. And for example, in my perspective, 80% of work gets done in flow state. So the more flow I have in the morning, the better my efficiency and decision. So you can imagine flow is like playing a video game. If you play the video game, if you're watching this video and you have ADHD, there might be a high chance that you play video games, because I also play video games, as you can see in the back. I kind of like this gaming productivity nerd, which I don't really game that much anymore, because I try to use the flow to create a video game myself in the morning. Because there are specific games like Elden Ring, Witcher, or whatsoever, where we are getting so dragged into this world because our dopamine is like perfectly triggered every single time with quests, with decision, with the fighting system. And we can create that actually every morning if we want to. And we can achieve flow, and we can actually trigger flow on command when we systemize our routine. So as I mentioned before, the better we stick to our routine, the more efficient, productive, and focused we are getting. And also the easier we can access flow. So the most important thing what I opt in the morning is what is the best way how I can achieve flow in the morning, and what habits and steps can I do to trigger this flow state. And the one main part where I shift from this part to flow is mostly with coffee. So I build my routine more like I wake up, I take salt water, I get a cold shower to kick off dopamine, and I start reading a book while viewing sunlight, and that for around an hour. Because the thing is, when we are reading a book, we are so focused on one specific thing that we can concentrate actually better afterwards. And then after reading actually and doing this routine and then drinking my coffee exactly after the 90 minutes, I get into this flow state, and then I start writing my scripts, my ideas, my content in flow state. And then I opt for specific things where I need to have less brain power. For example, right now it's 10 a.m. in the morning. I not film every day, but I mostly start writing in the morning, and then I start having another 90 minutes of, is it filming, is it editing, whatsoever. And then I have another 90-minute cycle, which is a bit lower of focus because we already shifted the 4 hours actually. And then we have the last 90 minutes, decreasing sometimes the productivity because sometimes I eat something before or whatsoever. And then we have the last 90 minutes where I do sometimes also editing, thumbnails, or like a bit more easier work. So the later the day goes, the easier my work becomes, and also the less focus I need. Coming to a really, really important topic, and it is a bit shorter than expected. It is about ADHD work, because it is different for every one of us. And for me, it is really strict with routines, systems, and habits to achieve this way of focus. And it also depends what is the work you really desire, which I will come up after this topic. So one thing I learned with ADHD work is we can't really concentrate for a long period of time. Literally no one can, but with ADHD, it might be a bit more difficult. We can get into the hyper focus, which extend our duration. But I realized pretty early that it's better to work 4 to 6 hours a day than 8 to 10 with shallow work and not deep. One of the main things I do since 1.5 years and actually helped me with productivity is work less and relax more. So it means we should work 4 to 6 hours, and after the 6 hours, it's like, hey, I do my training, I do my routine, I do my night routine, I eat, or I do some light work afterwards, and that helped me to put more effort, more energy the next day into the work, and then get another stronger flow again. Because if I worked too much, there might be a chance I didn't relax more and I can't flow the next day. Just remember, as a performance athlete, we need to train like an athlete, but also recover like an athlete. And one thing I learned the most is we can work more than 6 hours if we have the capability. Some days it works better, some less. But what I do is I work every morning 4 hours, which are kind of 100% of work efficiency based on flow. And the next 4 hours, after like some light meal, mostly on ketogenic, I avoid carbohydrates and sugar early in the day and just put it later in the day because of my training sessions. The next 4 hours of work in my case are 30%. And the last one, actually, the last 4 hours at the end are 10%. Like, this is seriously like really simple work where I just need to like press a couple of buttons, and it's talking with someone, it's meetings, it's uploading videos, but you don't really need a lot of attention for that. And one of the most important things, also to getting in a better flow state, to know where you want to go and to be more productive, we need to know where to go. And that is the easiest way to achieve that is to understand your Ikigai. That's a Japanese way of living and also about a purposeful life. And there's a couple of books which I read about it. And I also done a Notion worksheet where we can fill this out, and I also filled out my own one. So looking right now to my Notion sheet, which I not fully completed right now, but when this video is coming up, you can download the Notion template and duplicate it to your own workspace and then fill it out for yourself and then know where you want to go. But to explain it right now, that is a short introduction and how it actually works. So we go step by step, and I'm not fully finished right now, but in the end of the video, when you watch it, it is finished. But As you can see here, we have love, passion, mission, profession, and vocation. As you can see here right now, we have love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. And if we fill that out based on the step-by-step system in Notion I do for you, you know what you want, how to achieve that, and how to put this into your content creation business. And also know and also be more productive, because our brains doesn't really happen only for ADHD, but we know where to want to go, so we can be more intentionally working, and that makes it actually more efficient. So as mentioned, feel free to download and duplicate the Notion template. It's entirely for free. It's entirely for free, and there's more templates coming up. So we have 2 more things that I would like to cover up before ending up this video. Is actually the importance of health and biohacking. So I realized that my ADHD symptoms become worse when I'm not focusing on my health. And that, for example, means sleep and also recovery, and also how to have a better sleep, for example. So for example, I use Whoop, and I also have an Apple Watch. So the Apple Watch is mainly there for my training and my calories, and the Whoop is actually for tracking my habits and sleep performance and what affected it the day before. So for example, I realized the earlier I eat before bedtime, the less good quality of my sleep is. And also the more sugar I consume during the day, I don't mean carbohydrate, I mean refined sugar, the less deep sleep I get. And also similar to coffee, the later I consume caffeine, the less good my quality sleep is. And based on studies and research, not for everyone, but the optimal amount to drink the last cup of coffee is around 10 hours before going to bed. And also in terms of strength training, in terms of endurance, and also in terms of keeping my muscular way, I have to optimally keep my muscles. I plan my meals. My meals are always around 11 a.m. to 12 noon. The second is around 3 p.m. The latest is 4. And the last meal is between 5 to 7. It depends on my sleeping schedule. If I'm going to bed a bit earlier, in a specific period, for example in summer, and going to bed at 10, my last meal is around 6. If I'm going a bit later, for example in winter where it's dark earlier, I go to bed around 11 and 12, so my last meal is around 7. So I want to be finished at 7, so I have minimum 3 to 4 hours before going to bed. And one really key metric as well for sustaining focus and being alert is our insulin spike, because this also changes our mood swings, and also we can become tired, which most people know of with the afternoon dip, when we eat something and we're getting so tired we cannot even stay awake, which also contributes to bad sleep. But insulin is one key metric as well. So with controlling our insulin spikes means avoiding too much sugar or too much carbohydrate. We can also eat complex carbohydrates but don't consume any fats and proteins. Then our blood sugar level spikes as well, which results in a dip where we get more tired, mood swings, and we cannot focus at all. So for example, also what I realized, the better my nutrition, training, sleep, recovery, the better I can use my ADHD superpowers to get the best performance a day. And this also works for everyone, but in my perspective, which I also think is true, we have more difficult symptoms with ADHD, so we have it harder to stay focused and alert compared to other people. It doesn't mean that we cannot outperform people who do not have ADHD. We can do everything. Everything is kind of possible. I mean, there's not unicorns living on this earth, or not on this planet, let's say that. And also the better our health is, and also our sleep, the better our dopamine in our brains are. And most people who do not have ADHD, for them it's a bit easier to have this dopamine and concentrate on a certain task. And when we have ADHD and we want to use our dopamine for work, it suffers more from bad health and bad sleep compared to other people. And doing all of that with good quality of sleep and good health, we also make better decisions, which comes out to more money, better productivity, and an overall better life. And one of the really important things as well is mood and mental health. One thing you need to keep in mind is the happier we are, the more productive and the better decisions we are going to make. What makes you feel good, you should implement it. And also think more about long-term decisions. For example, consuming sugars, you might feel good while consuming them, but you do not feel good after consuming it because you're getting tired. You get mood swings because the insulin spike and fall, and the next day, then your sleep is suffering. and the next day your quality of work, mood and everything is suffering because of refined sugar or too many carbohydrates. So the last one that I would like to mention is focus on long-term decisions for better outcome of your work. So for example, think, okay, when I do this right now, how I'm going to feel tomorrow, how good my productivity is becoming, and how much more I'm stepping one step further on a ladder to my ideal goal. And if you want to know more about all of the topics, if you have interest in talking with me about ADHD and asking me specific questions, I started a Discord community where there's a link down below and you can sign up. The community is completely for free. There's also free templates and systems as, for example, Ikigai and talks, events, and whatsoever. There's a lot. If you check out the link, everything is written down there so you understand it. And then you also receive an email and then you get the link to the Discord community. And yeah, maybe hopefully see you there or another piece of content. Have a beautiful rest of the day and see you guys soon.